All right. I have a couple questions to try and have a little order to it.
Okay, sure.
Otherwise, we'll be talking for hours.
Uh-huh.
But, I guess the first thing is what you think about the book, or what you think about the book, and what was different in you reading this time from what you can remember the last time you read it.
I can say I didn't remember a lot. I'm wondering if in high school, maybe we had an option. I knew we were introduced to it. I'm like, did I read this before? But I don't feel like it felt extremely familiar. So, I didn't feel like a huge difference. What did I think? To be honest, I wasn't like as much of a classic as it is, and you know, I didn't feel, oh my gosh, this is just the best book, or this is just going to have such a large impact. Like I mean, I definitely I loved Atticus's character and how he raised his kids, particularly how he let Scout kind of be Scout. Um, and I, when I got to the end, I didn't like how they gave Scout a hard time about, you have to be a girl, you have to be a girl, you have to. I think she was kind of a free spirit, and it was nice reading it through her eyes versus probably reading it through Jem's eyes.
Yeah.
But they seemed pretty grounded, I liked how they alluded but weren't completely clear. But I've seen them do some other stuff, how he was going through puberty as like all these things are happening. So with all those the life changes going on around him, and with what he was experiencing, how he's starting to view things, in a more mature manner, or like that was for middle schoolers. I see how that might be a hook for them.
Would you reconsider calling it a classic after reading it?
Yeah.
Okay, why?
I don't know. I don't feel like it was just overwhelmingly, like it had a message, and see how he was raising them was good, particularly for that time. Maybe when it was first written, that's why it was considered to be a classic. But I think now, the stuff is still relevant, definitely still relevant. But I wouldn't say classic.
Okay. So do you think would you use it in the classroom?
I would.
Okay.
I would use it. I like the lessons that were in it. I liked the moral compass that Atticus was. So I would definitely. It's something I would use. I might do literature circles, but I might not do an entire class read with this. So the kids could pull out certain themes and and things like that. But I might not do whole class read.
What do you think about how, well, the racial climate in the book, and how do you think it was depicted well? Do you think it was depicted uniquely, or how do you think about that?
I didn't think too deeply into it.
Okay.
I thought it was the time it was the time that it was written in, and it was I thought it was fine for the time that it was written in, or fine for the message of the time period. I didn't I thought it was spot on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, a black man, and like Robinson said, Tom said, he was like, I'm a black man, and if I get caught in any type of, not verbatim, but if he gets caught in any type of situation around a white woman or near, then he's gonna die. It's it's not a lot of question about it. So, I remember things like that, or hearing things like that, or even reading other stuff that was like that, seeing movies like that. And I did look up on Netflix to see if it was on there, because I wanted to try to watch it after reading the book, but I didn't get to it. But I'm probably gonna try to get to it over break, so I can see the.
So I can give you. I can bring the movie into
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
But you're right.
So so I do definitely want to, I want to watch the movie, but I just felt like it was, and I felt bad. Like after I had gotten back to it and read it, I was like, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't feel like it was. I just didn't feel like, and I even went in after I finished, like, kind of read some analysis to see if I was missing something, like, you know. But all it talked about, a lot of them talked about Atticus's character, how he raised Scout, and how he was raising Jim, and like I just felt like I felt Dude was insignificant. I don't know why. I don't know if it was to counter the stereotype that they gave Scout in the book, because she did like this boy, but like I felt like, where did he come from? You know what I mean? I don't feel like he was. I felt like all that background and history on him, I don't want to say wasted my time, but I just, I mean, I got halfway through the book and was like, all right, where's the punchline? I'm sorry, I could just like,
Yeah. Okay. Describe Atticus Finch in a word. And then explain why.
I don't know if this is the right word, but I would say still,
Okay.
because he didn't move based on an impulse or a situation, or he was very careful. And there was one point where they were talking about what a great shot he was, but then he was kind of reluctant to even really pick up a gun. Like, he didn't really want to get into that. And I know the kids got guns at one point for a Christmas or something like that. But he was just very, I don't know if still is the right word, but he was just very still. He was not moved by the climate. He was moved by his morality. You know what I mean? I just don't feel like he had to go with what everybody else was doing. And no matter what people would say, he was consistent. He kept the same perspective or balance, or he just kept that for the entire book, I felt like.
Did you like him as a character?
Yeah.
Okay.
I liked him a lot as a character, because he was still, and he was consistent, and he wasn't, he didn't feed into stuff. I even liked him, like when he was pitted against his sister, like, cause she was kind of and fussy, and and I felt like he just, like, even sibling rivalry can be interesting, but like he didn't really, I mean, he would go at her, but if he said something to her, it was based on his stillness. It was based on his perspective and how he tries to live. So I liked his character a lot.
Atticus and Tom Robinson.
Uh-huh.
Do you think he handled that in the best way possible at that time? With him, deciding or taking the case, how he tried to defend Tom Robinson, and how he talked to Scout about him defending Tom Robinson. You think he went about that correctly?
I feel like he did. Not not being an attorney, just thinking of his defense. Sometimes I was like, okay, which way is he going? But when he went for a lot of credibility and to determine if they were lying. You know what I mean? So I think he went that route, because what else can you do? You have a black man on trial for potentially for allegedly raping a white woman. What defense do you have?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Other really than credibility. And I think he went about that okay. And even when I say his stillness, like, he was polite. He was, he got a little. One time he took his tie off, and he kind of went after. I think it was the girl, I can't remember, Mary. I can't remember her name at the top of my head, but but he went after her. But I thought he did the best that he could. Him taking the case, because I think they mentioned he was given the Judge Taylor gave him the case, but he gave him the case because he knew he knew where his moral compass was. You know what I mean? He knew that he would do the best that he could do for Tom Robinson.
Okay.
So, and I think he did the best he could. I mean, he was down at the jail, like, trying to defend him. You know, guys were coming and they were going to probably try to kill him or whatever. And he was sitting down there with a light bulb, a light, you know. So I think he sincerely did the best he could have done.
Do you understand? A lot of people say, especially, I mean, a lot of lawyers, especially, but even outside of lawyers, a lot of people say that he was more passive when dealing with the race issue. That he wasn't critical of it or negative of it. He was just passive, like you just let it be, you know, kind of thing. Instead of being an advocate for that, which way do you lean, if any?
See, I don't know that would have helped Tom Robinson's case.
Okay.
You know, if he, you know, played the race, you know, if he kept kind of going after, you know, you shouldn't. Now at the end of his closing, he talked about we're all people. You know, this shouldn't be, you know, black or white, but he talked about we're all people, and we should think about this from a moral point of view, and what are we, you know. But I don't think if he had gone in there, you know, trying to, you know, look at the race piece or you know, garner, you know, the community, you know, to fight for this black man. I don't know that would have, you know, he ended up getting killed in the end anyway, you know what I mean? And that was probably the inevitable, whether, you know, or not he really did run and try to jump the fence. I really felt like, I don't know if that was true or not, but you know, I think he probably did the best he could. I mean, if you go at that time and place, and honestly, I don't think he would have cared about what people would have thought if he had done more advocacy than just defense. I mean, I think people respected him 100% anyway. So, you know, but I don't think that would have helped.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about, well, I think talking about Tom's death, a lot of people debate on whether or not he actually killed himself or if they actually shot him like he said they did. That's interesting to think about too. But yeah, a lot of people talk about Atticus and describe him as a passive model when dealing with race, when dealing with the race issue. The fact that the case was given to him, it's not that he picked it out of a lineup, the case was given to him. And the fact that talking about his whole defense time is based on, a lot of people believe is based on him with the jury to discount the Mayella
and her dad, right?
Mayella and her dad, discount them and associate him and Tom in the same lump, you know?
Right.
And not say that Tom is a man who
right.
should be looking at.
Right. Yeah, true.
But you're saying that even if he did do it in that role, tried to make Tom out to be, you know, what he really is, which is a man, you know,
right.
It's not some lower level thing. What have done is people
already, at that time, people already have the perspective and thoughts, and so I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I just like he was different in the beginning. Okay. However it happened, I felt like in the end he was going to. I didn't feel like he was going to get, you know, somehow killed. You know, because you know, we don't know. I always feel like those situations aren't going to, particularly in that time, aren't going to end favorably.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
So you don't condemn his fence for acting that way?
No, I don't think. I just don't think he was if he was, you know, a advocate for other things in the areas of his life, then I would feel like, okay, he pulled back when he did Tom Robinson. But in every other area of his life, I don't see that there's anything that he just went down fighting for, except for treat people kindly, treat people as you want to be treated, treat people with respect. I mean, just treat people with respect. That was kind of his rule. You know what I mean? I don't feel like he fought, and even with Scout, is, you know, as much as she did her thing and she fighting, and you know, he wasn't only, you know, when it's talking about her, she needs to be a girl and she needs to. He wasn't like, you know, you and me, my darling. He was like, it's fine. You know, and that's his kid. So if he's not going to jump and advocate, you know, over the top for something, I just don't think that's part of his makeup.
I think something that stood out to me in the book was I still ask myself this question: why include us the courthouse is
He was the guy that thinking, you know, to judge.
Okay.
Whatever he says, always judge everything that you see.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it open and pay attention to what's going on around you.
Okay.
Because as you can see, not everybody in the book, but the majority of the characters were very biting and judgmental and fussing and, you know, and nitpicky, and I just think I like that he, you know, he's watching everything go on. He's watching this 3-ring circus, and he's sober, and everybody thinks they're misjudging because they think he's drunk all the time, and he's not. He's watching everything happen, and I felt like somewhere in there something was going to happen, and they would need him as like a credible.
Yeah.
They would need somebody to step up, and he could be the one that could step up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then the book ended, so I guess that wasn't
Yeah.
it.
I think about, like you said, everybody's not as they seem.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't help but think, I mean, because it goes along with her, Ghost of the Watchmen, or Ghost of the Watchmen, the book that was supposed to come before this book, and how Atticus is portrayed in that. But I can't help but think that Mr. Raymond is here, sometimes I think about this, is here to provide somebody that we can compare morally to Atticus Finch. Because I think there are only 2 people in the entire town that we can look at and say, okay, these guys are not a product of the environment, as in they're not bigoted racially and stuff like that.
Right.
And these are the only 2 characters that I think we can go on: Mr. Raymond and Atticus Finch. And in the scene, he talks about why he acts like he's drunk. And then he says, Dill asks, cry about what, Mr. Raymond? Because Dill's crying and all this stuff. He says, cry about the simple hell people give other people without even thinking. Cry about the hell white people give colored folks without even stopping to think that they're people too. And then Scout says, Atticus says, cheating a colored man is 10 times worse than cheating a white man. Says it's the worst thing you can do. Mr. Raymond said, I don't reckon it is, Miss Jean Louise. You don't know your pa's not a run-of-the-mill man. That's the thing. You can read that. See, I think you can read that however you want. You don't know your pa's not a run-of-the-mill man. It'll take a few years
to figure out.
I think that is. I don't understand. I don't know what he's saying by that. Your pa's not a run-of-the-mill man. What do you think he's saying by that?
I think he's saying, well, I'm kind of thinking that he's saying your dad's a really good person.
Okay.
But you're too young to really understand. Because, you know, and one thing I was, when the book starts, they're kind of like, our dad's old, they kind of, you know, give him a hard time and complain about their dad a little bit because he's not out there with all the other dads and he doesn't go to everything and he's a little bit older, I think. And so they're kind of, as the book evolves, they start to see more about him. They start to respect him a little bit more because they understand, like, they respect what he's doing with Ty Robinson. But I think he has a history. And see, the second book, I haven't read that one yet, but I feel like I need a backstory on him. You know what I mean?
Mr. Raymond?
No, on Atticus. Because we catch him in this point in his life where he's very, you know, focused and, you know, morally responsible, and he's raising his kids. But I think, what did he say? Was he like 50? So 20, 30, 40? What was he doing? He was a great shot. What was he doing?
Yeah.
That he was a great shot. Did something happen in his life that he's just become, like he did a 360? Or was he always like this? And it seems that all these townspeople know all this stuff about him because he's from there. It seems like all these townspeople know all these things about him, but they're like dropping little nuggets, like stuff like that. You know, your dad's a great shot, or, you know, you don't really know your dad, or, Like I don't know what to do with that. I want to know more about him.
Yeah. Well, the Ghost of the Watchmen. I can read that to you tomorrow too.
Okay.
But yeah, that's it's based in the future.
Okay. So after this one.
Yeah, she is scouted, or they call her Jean Louise.
Mhm.
She's 20 something. She works in New York, and then she goes back home to Macon, and you see how she looks at Atticus, and how she looks at her aunt who's still there, and how she looks at Jim's dead, and
Really?
I don't really like how Jim's dead, so yeah, and then she's with this guy Hank and stuff like that, and it's kind of like it's really about her. The whole thing is about her, but it's looking back on these people in her life. And I think it'd be interesting to give somebody that book first and then them read this. Because I think this one, well, of course, I don't think she really finished Ghost of the Watchmen. She didn't get as detailed as she wanted to. It's just a shell of what she wanted. But, yeah, I think Ghost of the Watchmen, it makes you a lot more interested in how she acted as a young adult, because she has completely different, or as a kid, because she has completely different now.
Okay.
And I think if you read that first and then you read this one, I think it'd be interesting to look at how you look at Atticus. But anyway, what was your favorite moment in the book? Your favorite character too?
My favorite moment in the book was, my favorite character was Boo Radley.
Okay.
Because he was so unsuspecting, and they spent the first half of the book messing with that dude, like trying to, and they, they wanted the author wanted you to think like he was like this cripple, or this scary looking, monstrous person, and then he comes out. I think he stabbed Ewell.
Okay.
I don't think Jim did it. I don't think Jim had the power to do it. But I just think, and when they were saying that someone was walking off, because if I read it correctly, did Boo Radley carry him? Boo Radley carried it home. I think Boo Radley came out, got a knife out that tree, stabbed Ewell, and took Jim home.
Okay.
So I liked his character because it wasn't in depth, but he was very unsuspecting, and I felt like, I was like, go Boo, I kind of felt like he was, and I just all the way through my reading, I was like, what's his purpose? What's he gonna do? And I think, again, it's about unsuspecting people. You know what I mean? Whereas Atticus was, kind of, just, kind of still in his place. I just feel like, with Raymond, another unsuspecting person. I like that piece to it, because it's, again, don't judge people.
Okay.
Do
you think don't judge people? You think that's the overall theme of the book?
I think it has like tons of themes, but
what's the most important theme in your mind?
I think it just has a theme about being mindful about, I think it's not being, don't judge, because everybody had their own, like Aunt Alexandra, she was she was kind of judgmental. The kids judged Boo Radley, the whole town was judging Tom Robinson. They judged the Ewells because their kids didn't go to school, But there were those few nuggets in there that it was like, okay, you guys, people doing all this judging, but there are some gems within all of that. You know what I mean? So I think that that's a good theme.
Atticus Finch, is he a role model?
You said, is he a role model?
Or do you think we should look at him as
a role model?
Yeah. I think you watched the movie too. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah. Do you think? Yeah.
I don't think role model. I think, because when I think a role model, I think of somebody you should consistently watch and see where they're going and what they're doing. For Atticus, I think he's a person that he's a person you could model with model character, or a person you could model your character after, someone to listen to. He's very wise. I don't know, role model, because like you said, some people, don't think he did the best job with Tom Robinson. So, and I think a role model has like more depth in other places and areas of their life. I don't feel like, and I don't want to say he wasn't a dynamic character, but in some aspects he was kind of, as still as he was, my word, I feel like he was kind of a static character. Because he didn't he did the same thing. Like he didn't do I don't know that he changed throughout the book. I think he was consistent, but I wouldn't say he's like this dynamic character that just made changes in the plot and it turned it upside down. He's someone you should definitely, when you think of, how you want someone to be respectful of humanity and be kind, yes, but in terms of like a role model, no.
You think that's a negative, that he's a static character? Would you have liked to see him more of him?
I do want to know more about him. I just don't think if there was another book that talked about him more in depth, he may be a dynamic character. I think he has potential for it to be dynamic, but it wasn't in this book.
Okay.
Just with the, like I said, with the little pieces that we were given, you don't always, you don't know, your father will take you a few years, or he was a great shot, that's why I said, I don't know, is he a completely changed person, or did something happen? Like, I just can't help the wonder if something happened in his life that he's become this person. Or has he just always been like that? And if he is, that's okay. But I mean, I think he was necessary. But that's,
How do you, when you talk about the book and how Scout's the narrator and everything's seen through Scout's eyes, do you think that changes how accurately we can talk about Atticus? Because some people say that she's a kid, so she's going to see her father as this great man who knows everything. Do you think we're
giving him too much credit?
Yeah, blinded by that, or
No, because I think every character is going to have a different perspective. So, I don't know. I don't. If he was like such a dynamic character, I feel like maybe I would have liked to hear it from someone else's perspective. But what she told us was the same thing about her father all the time. He was very calm, very collected. Even when he came in the house, when Jim came in the house and was like unconscious, I don't feel like Atticus was running through the house. Oh my God, call the doctor. It was like, get the doctor on the phone. Yeah. It's like, dude, your child, I think I liked hearing it from Scout's perspective. I think it lightened the book up. Okay. Because it's a heavy subject, you know what I mean, with the race, but I think it lightened the book up.
Yeah, a lot of people make the argument that that seeing it from Scout as an older woman, come back down, that Atticus never really changed. It's just her whole view of him, stepping away from him for so long, coming back. She just is starting to see who he really is, or how he really is. And some just say he's old and he's senile.
Right.
But would you call him a hero? You would not call him a hero. Okay.
I mean, I don't see what heroic thing.
Is that because he's not dynamic, or because he didn't do anything?
I don't feel like he did. I don't feel like he did anything.
Okay.
I mean, to me, a hero just is. I don't know. I was gonna say a hero impacts, you know, I think on a large scale, but I don't feel like he did. I don't think he didn't. I don't feel like he did anything super dynamic that overturned the plot or changed everybody. Yeah, he didn't change anybody. You know what I mean? Like, he had his moral compass and he felt a certain way. You should respect people. He imparted what he needed to on his children, like we do as parents. But now, and I haven't read the other book. You know, I don't feel like he stepped up and saved the world or did anything. You know, in that time, he raised and did his best to raise two morally sound kids, and you know, but I think.
Does it surprise you that in Ghost of the Watchmen, in a book that supposedly was supposed to come before this, that she wrote before this, does it surprise you that he's racist? Or that he's racist?
In Ghost of the Watchmen,
Yeah, does it surprise, if I were to tell you, man, he's racist, she wanted him to be racist, or she wrote him to be racist in this book, does it be like, oh no, there's no way he can be.
He's so morally sound.
Yeah.
How could he be?
Yeah. Or are you like, I could see that. I'd have to read the book a little more, or I'd have to read Ghost of the Watchmen, but I can,
Yeah, I think I would have to read it. But then I'm like, if he was racist, like what? I don't know. It's hard to see him as a true racist, because then he was a great actor in the whole book. You know what I mean? Like, you know.
That's the thing. Maybe his scout just doesn't understand.
That is true. That is true.
That gets to the whole point of Mr. Raymond. That your father's.
You don't understand.
Yeah. You don't know your Paul's not a run-of-the-mill man. What does he mean when he says run-of-the-mill man? He's not.
What page is on in your book?
My book is 269. It's in chapter 20.